Good morning, friends. It's Bob with another Daily Devo. We are trying to recapture a vision, an imagination for what it might look like for God to move in our midst, in today's time, even in the midst of this coronavirus pandemic. And with all of that, we are looking backward in order to move forward. We're looking back to how God moved in the early church to look and see if there aren't some features of that we can reclaim, and that God might be wanting to say to us that in the midst of this, that maybe the American church in being so Sunday morning oriented has missed some of these very crucial elements, and we want to recapture. We want to say, God, would you ignite our imaginations to help us move forward, looking backward in order to move forward. Now, we've seen a whole bunch of different things. This is a devoted group of people. They're devoted to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, to the shared life, to the breaking of bread, and to the prayers. We saw that they have that there's an awe of God working, of God doing things, and that there was a move of power that was working, that the disciples were doing, apostles were doing signs and wonders, and that actually, indeed, not just them, but those continue to move forward. Philip and Stephen, these guys moved, with great power. The Apostle Paul, he moves with great power, and he's not one of the 12. That it's not just the 12. This is the work of God, and God will use people who are available for that. Well, we saw also that there's this extraordinary togetherness, that there's this connection, and the connection has some flesh on it. That is, that the connection isn't just being together and eating together. It's a connection that actually where we share what we have. It says, it goes like this. He said, and I'm going to read the passage to you again. They devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching and to the fellowship, the shared life, to the breaking of bread and to the prayers. And everyone was filled with awe, and many signs and wonders were done at the hands of the apostles. And then it says, now all the believers were together, and they held all things in common, or they shared everything they had. They sold their possessions and property and distributed the proceeds to all as any had need. Every day they devoted themselves to meeting together in the temple. They broke bread from house to house. They ate their food with joyful and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people, and the Lord added to their number daily those who are being saved. Now, God is doing this. So this isn't something that we can just cleverly engineer. This is something that we have to start asking God to do. But one of the things that we see in this togetherness and how they are actually embodying the togetherness is that they start giving away the things that they have. Now, this is an extraordinary kind of thing. And this is the first time that this happens, that when we respond to the generosity of God, we get generous. This is what happens with Zacchaeus when he comes to know Jesus. He just says, Lord, here's what I do. I pay back people. I give what I have away. All these different things you find later on in the book of Acts where Barnabas, actually, he's one of the guys that actually sells a field that he owned. And then he gives a process that gives the proceeds of those things to the apostles so that they can pass it out to people as they have need. That there's this need meeting that ends up happening. It's need meeting. It is giving what we have to meet others' needs. Giving what we have to meet others' needs. This isn't just, a clever sort of biblical rendition of communism or socialism. It's not that at all. This is a move of God. This is something that happens in people's hearts. No one is imposing this from the outside. This is something that happens on the inside and then moves outwards, that we get in touch with God's generosity, and then we get in with the program of being generous. We've been talking about that we've been talking about generosity in, generosity out. Generosity in, we gestate on that, and then generosity out. The gestation is the thanksgiving, the gratitude, and then generosity out. That we are a generous people because God is generous with us. This is what's happening here. People are so overwhelmed by the goodness of God coming to them in the resurrection of Jesus and the death of Jesus on the cross, and in God moving in powerful ways in the present tense, that the Spirit is moving. He's filling people. He's moving us forward together. All of these things are happening together, and people are looking at what the needs are for other people, and they're moving in likewise manner. So, I said this a number of weeks ago that how many of you could go to your closet and identify at least a few things that that you're not going to wear, but that somebody else could be wearing? This is just clothing. How many of you have these different things that you could pass on to somebody? I finally, a couple of weeks ago, I had preached that and said that, and then I didn't do it. And then Becky went in and started cleaning out her closet. She redeemed a whole bunch of space within the closet. I went in and actually came up with I got 3 bagfuls of stuff that I'm trying to find some people that I can give them to. I don't just want to give them the goodwill just to clean out my closet and to, ferret out all these other different things that I want. I want to be a part of how God meets others' needs. I want to be a part of that program. I want to be a participant. I don't want to be a bystander looking on and celebrating while everybody else participates in that. I want to get into the giving program. I want to be a person where God's resources are continually funneled through me to others. I believe that you want that too. That's what's going on here, is that they don't have their hands so tightly on everything that they're white knuckling all that they have, that they are actually opening up their hands, they're opening up their hearts, and they're giving these things away. And it's making a huge difference in the lives of others, but it's just another way that the kingdom of God, the restoration, the perfection of the kingdom of the heavens comes to earth, and it creates this equity, it creates this restoration, it creates this fullness, it meets needs. That's how God's kingdom works. It meets the needs of people. Jesus fills people, he feeds people, he restores people, he forgives people, he heals people, he delivers people. This is the kingdom of God on this earth. And you and I are called to actually start to have some imagination for that. And as you even think about, Lord, how can I use what I have for the benefit of others? Then, wow, now all kinds of things begin to open up to you. All kinds of imaginations begin to open up to you that are beautiful and wonderful. I read an article yesterday, I believe it was, that about a billionaire who, the guy who actually created the duty-free shops in the airports, he's a billionaire. And he set out over the last bunch of years to give away everything that he had. It said in the article that he lives like a college, in a college dorm type of a setting where it's super Spartan. There, he doesn't really have a whole lot of stuff of any kind. He finally, it says that this billionaire had $8 billion and wanted to give it all away, but he wanted to do it anonymously. It took him a while to do it, and he finally did it. He gave everything away. $8 billion. $8 billion. And in the midst of the whole thing, some people caught wind of it. He's trying to stay below the radar in the whole thing, but in the midst of it, other people caught wind of it. And now he's become sort of a mentor to the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gates in terms of how do you live and how do you have the wealth that you have and actually have it make a difference, and not just after you die. And so he created a foundation. I think it's called Giving While You're Living. Giving while living. And it's this idea that we just continue to pour out to other people. Pour out, pour out, pour out, pour out. You know what? That's us. That's from our playbook. That's from God's heart himself. This is a guy, I don't know if he's a Christian or if he's not. I didn't see anything in the article that indicated that he was, but he didn't get this idea from the devil, I'm certain. And he's made a huge amount of difference in so many people's lives. And in that, I think, wow, what could we be if we saw all of our resources as resources to be used for God to make this world a better place? That's what was happening in the early church. Looking backward to move forward, we're going to need to reclaim some of this kind of generosity. Go to your closet. Don't just get rid of the stuff. Find somebody who needs it. Thanks so much for tuning in today. I love you. I'm so glad that we're walking in this together. Until next time.